What disgusting secret you found out about someone? My dad used to smoke crack and then film himself dressing up in women's clothes and doing his makeup. Poorly. That's not the disgusting part, though. The disgusting, funny, in an absurd way part is that when my mom found out about all that and other stuff, she found his hidden stash of dresses and presented them to me, age 12, 13, as gifts, and told me I should wear them right away and show dad when he gets home. So I was just constantly parading around the house in my dad's pretty crack dresses, not understanding why he was weirded out, lol. My dad's pretty crack dresses truly just sent me, this is definitely the title to the book of your life story. My dad's pretty crack dresses by Bubble Tea Mouse. I'm struggling to process how many levels of fucked up this is. Found out my uncle raped my mom, teens. She kept quiet about it until recently, 50s. Turns out he also did it to my aunt. Didn't mention it until mom did. Same dude I went to holiday dinners with, hikes, hugged, etc. She acted so normal around him I had no idea. My granddad did this to my mum. I grew up feeling pretty close to him, but when my mum was dying, she made us promise not to let him be at her deathbed. Same, except I wasn't very close to him because he made me feel uncomfortable just being in the same room. He never did anything to me, but I told my mom I didn't like it when he was around, so she kept him away from me. She was trying to heal and went to therapy after her brother died in a car accident. The therapist told her she needed to tell her father, who was a good guy but traveled a lot for work, so had no idea what was going on at home. She told him. He called her a liar and couldn't understand why she was trying to hurt him. That set her healing back several years. This happened to my mother and aunt too. Exact same story. The only thing was I felt an immense anger toward my mother for a split second, because she used to leave me alone in his house for sleepovers. It makes me so sad how common this story is. For a split second, girl, that anger would forever burn in me. I had a friend who was being molested. A child. And they never left me alone with the person. I remember thinking it was weird how they followed me and wouldn't let him get me alone. Now I know the child was protecting me. We are still friends. She should have protected you better, Annat. I'm so thankful nothing happened to you. Bless your friend's soul for protecting you as children. After my husband died in 2020, I found out he had been having an affair with a 30-year-old. He was 55. She apparently aborted his baby. Everything he told me about his prior life was a lie, second marriage for both of us, and he had been having sex with men since he was in his early 20s. To sum it up, I didn't know this man at all. We had been together 10 years and married for 6. I'm 39 and all I can think is who the hell has the kind of energy to pull this off? The amount of effort, the mind boggles. I was an anxious mess for the months I was holding my proposal to my now wife a secret. I could not fathom this shit. I think only sociopaths could live with that level of deception. So it's a good sign that you got anxious about the proposal. You are normal. The kid that bullied me in grade 5 and 6, turns out his father was molesting him and his brother throughout their childhood. I have a similar story. Girl who bullied me all through middle school. Found out her dad abused her and her sister from the time they were little until he died when they were teenagers. Drank himself to death. Now, as an adult, when I go visit home, I make time to see her. I know her children. We have coffee at her house and sit on the porch or in the kitchen and chat. We hug before I leave. This is quite heartbreaking, and you're a good person for doing that. Has she ever apologized or anything from all the bullying from the past? Yes, she's the one that reached out to me, actually. She sent me a message on FB maybe 12 years ago or so. She said she felt guilty for it for a very long time, especially after she healed a bit from it. There's times when she'll mention it, and it makes her emotional. We all have a past. I'm just grateful that both of our presents and futures don't have to be that way anymore. We help heal each other. The teenage boy that molested me when I was little, his dad was molesting him and his sisters. Also, the dad's wife was aware her husband was molesting their kids. It was being dealt with through their church. Years later, the boy who molested me committed suicide. He had also been a youth group leader for a while, so I do wonder if he did anything to any of those kids. Fuck you, Church of Latter-day Saints. Your church is trash. This is so sad and awful. I'm sorry for what happened to you and all those kids, and so sad that when you said through their church, I knew you meant the LDS church. Exmos like us have too many stories like these. My embarrassing admission is that I have a similar story except I was the bully. I was a hot-tempered kid who never bathed and was constantly belittling people and would throw tantrums constantly. I never physically hurt anyone, but I was a nightmare to be around. It took me years of therapy to realize that my father's behavior was sexual abuse and wasn't something that all dads did with their kids. I look back on it now and I can't believe I used to treat people that way. When my grandfather passed away, we discovered that he did not exist. His name was not in any government registry. He was a normal citizen, paid taxes, had a license and everything. Lived a long life married to my grandmother for over 50 years, had multiple children, everything normal. Still to now, no one knows who he really was and why he had a false name. We discovered after my grandpa passed that he had changed his name multiple times. Figured it out when the same SSN was attached to different names. Maybe the same thing with yours. My grandpa did too, but this was in Mexico before the 90s. He died in 92, so it was easier to scam the system. Basically, the kids from his other family paid someone in the state Gov-ET registrar to falsify a BC because, without it, they couldn't file a death certificate and therefore not file for his insurance money at all. My mom asked her oldest half-brother why his tomb said this one name. I remember because this was literally like 6 years ago. She goes, "That's not his last name." Dude answers with a, "That's how his accounts were under, and we paid someone to make a fake BC." My mom was standing there like, what the fuck? Then she started questioning about some land, and long story short, that day she found out she was scammed out of money. A guy had a decently successful restaurant in my town. He was community-oriented, donated time and money to the town, just overall nice. There was something I always thought was off or fake about him. He tried expanding and buying a new restaurant, but needed a financial backer. They had a disagreement over something, and she went missing. He took care of her son during her absence. Turns out, he murdered her and buried her in a shallow grave behind a manufacturing building. Really hit our town hard. Not really a secret, but definitely a shocking discovery. There was a weird kid in my school that got expelled for touching himself in the library. He was always kind of odd, but he lived down the street and was always nice to me. I dated his sister briefly and would always say hi when I saw him because I honestly just kind of felt bad for him. Fast forward like 10 years and me and my roommate were looking up people we went to school with on the docket finder as a joke. Remembered the weird kid, and wouldn't you know it? Locked up for violently assaulting children. It wasn't funny after that point. Exited out and never spoke of it again. I had an uncle that went to prison for some time for allegedly trying to kill my aunt. Years and years later, after both my aunt and uncle had passed away, my cousin, male, told me the real story. She had been molesting him for years when he was little, and when my uncle caught her, he flipped out and tried to kill her. During the confrontation, she cut off part of his hand and several fingers with a butcher knife. He went to prison. She got nothing. My cousin had an absolutely awful childhood. Absolutely insane. This is heartbreaking. I hope your cousin is better now. I'm really proud of him for sharing it with you. You guys must have a close bond. He's in a much better place now. We were close growing up, lost touch, but reconnected as adults. He went through a lot of therapy and had some bad substance abuse issues at certain points, but he's a great guy now. Has a wonderful, supportive family. Lots of these stories don't end well, but this one thankfully did. This guy in my friend group's older brother was into young girls. Even though he was in his early 20s, he'd routinely go after girls as young as 14. However, this one time it ended very badly for him. He brought two 14-year-old girls to the sports complex he worked at late at night. They convinced him to let them tie him up on a flagpole sort of thing so they could give him a show and then do him. They tied him up real good, pulled his pants down, took his car keys, and left him there. Well deserved. I saw my grandfather only 2 times, once when I was around 4 or 5 and then again when I was about 13 at my uncle's funeral. I asked my mom what the deal was and she would just tell me he was not a good person. I just stopped asking until a few years ago and she gave me the whole story. He was a vile, sadistic, evil person, abusive to his family in just about every way imaginable. Your poor mom. She is an amazing mom and grandma. Surface level, she's sweet, calm, and funny. You dig a bit deeper and she's the most badass person. Found out a coworker was microwaving their underwear at work to freshen them up after lunch breaks. It was, an unpleasant revelation. Made me think twice about using that microwave ever again. Dude, what the fuck does that even mean? Like, what purpose? Because it sure as hell does not freshen them up. I just want to know what the hell he did while they were microwaving them. Just sit there with their business out in the break room? Mad sprint to the bathroom and back in 30 seconds? What the fuck? There were rumors when I was a child that a friend of mine was being molested by her stepdad. Adults were told, but nothing came of it, and she went through emancipation as soon as she was old enough. I learned later on that stepdad was having his way with all of the children in the house. Male and female, step and biological. 5 kids. The thing that disgusts me the most is that for the first time in my life, I talked to somebody about it and learned that a lot of people in town knew it was going on. She and I were 11 years old. Not a damn thing either of us could do. But the adults should have fucking helped those kids. Teachers knew. The principal of our school knew. I don't have all the details as to why they weren't removed from the home, but there's no reason or excuse for all of them to stay in that place with that man for years. I swear that's probably the thing that hurts the most. The fact that people don't care enough to do something. Everyone knows and doesn't lift a finger. Sticks with you forever. The feeling that you just don't matter enough. My dad's dad raped him when he was like 8 years old. He told my mom about a year before he died. Then she told me. We were both. He never gave any indication prior. I knew my grandfather suffered from PTSD from WW2, but wow. He didn't say if it was once or ongoing. Apparently no one knew but us. I don't know if his brother knew. They weren't very close. All these people are dead now, so I'll never know all of the story. My dad died in 1998 at 57 of cirrhosis of the liver. Now that I just turned 56, I realize how young that is. Thanks for watching this video. Subscribe and comment. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.